Hi guys, this is Adam Dice with another Duel of Legends video. Today we're going to talk about the defense cards for the second edition and what's new with that. As far as the designs go, they're pretty much the same as they were in the first edition, just with our new borderless design. There's no new elements to them. We'll go through the list of the cards that we didn't really change anything to, that are the same, that have the same abilities as they had in the first edition. That way we can get to the cards that we did change, and I can tell you about the new stuff. Leather armor and the leather helmet, gauntlets, scale mail, leather boots, and the chainmail are all the same as they were in the first edition. Those all felt really balanced and didn't really seem like they needed anything changed on them, so we kept those the way they were. We did feel like there was some opportunity to improve some of the other cards that we had for defense items and make them a little bit more effective, or give them something that's a little bit more interesting than just a bonus or something like that, because we have a lot of cards that have bonuses. So the first card we want to talk about is the wooden shield. We felt like the first edition of the wooden shield was a little underpowered, so we wanted to give it a little something extra, make it a little bit more useful. So now if it blocks an attack from a ranged weapon, instead of just boosting itself a little bit by 1, we make it double itself. So it'll double to 10 if it's blocking a ranged weapon. So that made it a little bit more useful. It was always intended to be one of the lower tier defense cards, but this made it a little bit more useful. We're also thinking about renaming this to Buckler, because wooden shield sounds a little too generic. Next we want to talk about is the steel helmet. The steel helmet was a little overpowered in first edition. It could block 8, and it had a negative ability which reduced your weapons attack rating by 1. We kind of wanted to get away from that. We didn't want to have negative abilities on your defense items. So instead of doing that, we just lowered its defense down to 6, and we gave it the ability to boost itself back up if you block a spell damage. It boosts itself plus 4, so it would go all the way to 10. That means you could block the entire amount of a lightning bolt spell if you wanted to. So we felt that was a little bit more interesting, and we also wanted to kind of theme some of these items a little bit more. Like, we wanted headgear to kind of have that protection from spells ability. So we went with that with this, and that seemed to be a lot more balanced, and it's a little bit more effective card. The next card we want to talk about is the Pauldrons. The Pauldrons we wanted to change mainly due to the same thing with the steel helmet. It had a negative connotation to the ability. It reduced your weapon's refresh rate, or increased it rather, and made it where you couldn't use your weapon as much. We wanted to get away from that, so basically we did the opposite of that. We lowered its defense rating, and if you don't have a weapon, then it boosts itself back up. So we went from a 7 to a 5 normally, and then if you don't have a weapon, it'll go all the way to 8. So it's a little bit better if you don't have a weapon card. So we felt that was a little bit more interesting, a little bit more dynamic, and that seemed to work a lot better. The next card we want to talk about is the Chainmail Coif. This card we kind of just tacked on that addition that we were talking about of theming the cards, theming the items, so that headgear has an enabled ability of protecting against spells a little bit better. So we just added that if it blocks a spell, it gets +2 to its defense rating, and it still carries that +1 to your attack rating of your weapon. So we just boosted this one up a little bit, and so far it's been a lot more interesting. So the tower shield is a little bit different than it was before. We still wanted it to be focused on blocking weapons, but we felt like just boosting itself up if it blocks a weapon was a little generic, and we kind of done that before. So we wanted to do something a little more interesting. So now instead of doing that, it will increase the refresh rate of a weapon that it blocks. Kind of with the idea of if you hit it with a weapon, that weapon's going to bounce off, and then you kind of have to recoil. So we kind of went with a theme on this one, and it seemed to work a lot better. It's not quite as overpowered as it was before, because you could block up to 9 points of damage with any weapon attack, and that seemed a little overpowered. The next item I want to talk about is the steel shield. Again, with the theming, we wanted shields to kind of be able to double, like the wooden shield, and then with the tower shield was a little too overpowered that way, so we kind of combined the two ideas into the steel shield. Instead of it just boosting itself with ranged weapons, now if you block any weapon, it will double its a defense rating to 12, from 6 to 12. So this one might be a little overpowered. We play tested it quite a bit, and it seems okay right now, but it's kind of right on the edge. So this one we might look at a little bit more in the future. And the final card we want to talk about is the Steel Breastplate. This card was way overpowered in the first edition because it could block 10. And basically, if you got the Steel Breastplate, you could just sit behind a wall of defense and nobody could penetrate, and you would just sit there and turtle shell. We call it turtle shelling because you'd sit behind your little shell and just poke at people. So that was way too overpowered. So we decided to knock that down, and instead of giving it that negative ability of knocking your weapon down, we decided to kind of mimic what we did with the Pauldrons. So it's only a 7 when it's regular, and if you don't have a weapon, it boosts itself back up to 10. So it's only that maximum efficiency if you don't have a weapon. So that's pretty much it for the defense cards. Stay tuned. Next time we're going to talk about spell cards, and there's a ton to talk about with spell cards. We made a lot of changes to those. In the meantime, make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and sign up for that newsletter. Until next time, stay legendary.